Residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. You are locked in on the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to continue to look back at some of our best moments from last year, as well as touch on any of the news that we have in college sports and talk about the National Day of Today. That's all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show. We've got a lot to cover. Let's get things rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9. With the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa? If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, right here in Tuscaloosa. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698 and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. And ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. And Heath, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a trivia question, and I'm going to pick your brain and see how well you remember this. This year will be the second time in the last 18 seasons that an SEC team will not finish in the top two of the final AP poll. The last time was back in 2014. Can you tell me those two teams back in 2014?
Clemson and Ohio State, maybe?
You got one right. Ohio State and Cardale Jones beat Oregon and Marcus Mariota in the national championship game, and that was Ohio State that got in with a backup quarterback, and of course Ohio State knocked off Alabama there in the Sugar Bowl when they had Blake Sims.
You know, Oregon might one day figure this whole thing out. You know, they made the national championship game with Auburn a couple of years ago. Then they made it again, lost to Ohio State that you just mentioned. They've been in the playoff before, like they were this year with Bo Nix. Mm-hmm. They're being very consistent. They just don't have that last part.
And you know what that last part is? Physicality, man. They cannot win on either side of the football on the lines of scrimmage, dude, when they come up against a good team that can run the football. Because not very many teams run a version of the Power I run game in the Pac-12. That will change when they go to the Big Ten later this year.
A lot of people don't understand why the Big Ten plays power football. And I'll explain it to you very quick and very short. When you go into places like, Ames, Iowa, or, you're there in Chicago at Northwestern or Illinois and Champaign, and you're anywhere there in Big Ten country, Columbus, Ohio, Ann Arbor, any of those places. There's a lot of days where it is in the 30s and the wind is blowing more than what the temperature is. It might be 32 degrees and the wind might be blowing 38 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to throw the ball in those conditions. They've got great quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy is a phenomenal quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
It's even, I watched a little bit of J.J. McCarthy throughout the year, but I haven't watched him for an entire game until the other night. I really think J.J. McCarthy is the absolute best quarterback in America. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
But I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. Whoever you think the best quarterback in college football history is, you can't throw the ball when it is 34 degrees outside with 38 mile an hour winds.
No.
It is super hard to throw the ball down the field, and Oregon loves to throw the ball down the field. Lane Kiffin and his offense would not survive.
No.
In Big Ten weather. Now, Mike Leach's system in the air raid, they throw underneath a lot. That could, but guess what? Those Big Ten defenses would all start playing underneath. Now you have to go over the top, and that's when you get in trouble. So, it's difficult, super difficult to play in the Big Ten just because of weather conditions.
And Heath, let me also say this as well. They like to play bully ball because if you continually get 2 yards, 1 yard in the first quarter, that goes down to 4 yards and 5 yards in the fourth quarter because you constantly wear down that defensive line. And we saw that in the Rose Bowl game. The later you got into that game, Blake Corum kept getting further and further down the field on that Alabama defense because they kept hitting them in the mouth every single time they got the football.
Yeah. If you remember, if you're old enough to remember, and I am, what SEC football was like in the early 2000s, back in the 90s, back in the 80s.
Hey, Heath,
Big Ten football still is.
Heath, it was run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, punt, play good defense.
Well, Bear Bryant used to say it all the time. First, we're going to play great defense. Second, we're going to have great special teams.
Yeah.
And then third, we're going to run the ball great.
Yes.
And that's how they played back in the day.
Right.
Defense was absolute first. You put all your athletes on defense. Then you made sure your special teams was better than anything else.
Yeah.
And then you worked on offense. And so, that's kind of how you do it up there. I mean, think about Nebraska. Think about what the weather's like. Even Stephen, even if it's a September or October game and it might be in the 50s or 60s, you still might have a 34 mile an hour wind. And that's impossible to throw in. It's just impossible.
Okay. And Heath, let me also say this as well. This is an interesting little nugget here. Monday night, Michigan versus Washington in the national championship game in Houston. Get this, Heath, October the 5th, later this year, Michigan at Washington in a Big Ten contest. That's going to be interesting.
The Big Ten will be fun to watch this coming up year. I'll say this, Stephen. I don't think the Pac-10 schools are going to compete very well against the Big Ten schools at first. And if you think that the Big Ten is going to bend over backwards to welcome the Pac-10 schools, you're kind of fooling yourself. They're welcoming them in with open arms for their TV markets. But when they start doing things like filling out the schedule and the pecking order of things, and Kevin Sumlin used to talk about that at A&M all the time, how the SEC is like, one day I'll be tired. Or he goes, one day A&M won't be the new school anymore. I'm tired of us being the new school. It's been 5 years now. And I was like, wow, is it that bad, Kevin Sumner? Okay.
So, Heath, on that note, we got to take our first break. And when we come back, we are going to get to we're going to get to the National Day of Today. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
With the high projected in the mid-40s today, the low tonight in the mid-20s, tomorrow warming up to the low 50s. We got rain in the picture for Friday and on Monday, which should help the drought conditions in Alabama. Plus, the ongoing wildfires in Alabama. The largest wildfire is 28 acres in the Talladega National Forest in East Alabama. And when you log on to TuscaloosaThread.com, you can find out more about a Crimson Tide commit winning Alabama Gatorade Player of the Year.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters.
Are you guys looking for a secondary loan, a small business lending, or a consumer loan? Then let me tell you about the Bank of Moundville, established way back in 1907. The Bank of Moundville, located in downtown Moundville, Alabama, is a full-service bank with lending as a premium right now. You can contact the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 205-371-2227. They are a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. Do you guys have a lake or pond that you own but you don't know your fish population? Then you need to contact Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa County, because they offer fish population analysis to give you a detailed look at how many fish you have in your pond or lake. They can also help you build the pond or lake of your dreams. Contact Honey Hole Fisheries and Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192 and let Honey Hole Fisheries design or create the lake of your dreams. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you love in the state of Alabama. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you guys. And now we are about to get to a fun little segment that we always like to do. It is our National Day of Today. And with all of the craziness from yesterday, we did not have the opportunity to talk about the National Day of Today yesterday. So on January the 2nd, it was National Cream Puff Day. It was also National Buffet Day, like Orion's Buffet or Shoney's Buffet. It was also National Personal Trainer Day, and finally National Science Fiction Day yesterday.
Oh, all right. Way to go, nerds. Hope you had fun.
All right. So there are two national days of today on January the 3rd. It is National Drinking Straw Day, and it is also National Chocolate Covered Cherry Day.
Okay. All right. Steven, I got to ask, what is your favorite buffet that you like to go to?
None. I think they're disgusting.
Really?
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, one of the best ones that I've ever had was the one and only time I went gambling in Philadelphia, Mississippi. I went to, I believe it was the Golden Nugget, and their buffet down there was amazing. But as far as like a Ryan's or a Shoney's or anything like that, I just think they're disgusting and nasty, and I can't stand it.
All right. You ever go to Chinese buffets?
No.
Do you eat Chinese food?
No.
You don't eat Chinese food?
No, the only other thing besides American that I do eat is Mexican food. I love Mexican food, but I'm not a fan of Japanese, and I'm not a fan of Chinese.
Oh, wow, man.
No, but dude,
Wow.
I love Mexican now. Let me tell you.
We had a restaurant over in Olive Branch, Mississippi. It's gone now, but it was a Mexican restaurant, and it was also a buffet
Wow.
restaurant.
Okay.
And I was like, I've never seen a Mexican buffet restaurant.
Right.
So, yeah, it was quite interesting to see people load up on refried beans. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what you like. I'd rather load up on the chips, but all right.
So, Heath, let's go on ahead and stop talking about food and get to some of our best segments from last year. And we are about to play for you one of the most interesting interviews that we had last year. Right before the rivalry game of the Iron Bowl, we had the one and only Gary Danielson join us to talk about covering that game for the last time. And here is what Gary Danielson from CBS had to say about the final chapter of the Iron Bowl before we had the Gravedigger play.
So both venues are so great, and
Yes.
I'm not at all. I don't need to really call another one. You know, we are breaking up. It's
Okay.
we're going a separate way. I'll be doing the Big Ten next year, and that's okay. You know, I've called. You know, this will be my 18th. 16 Iron Bowls. It's a cool thing to do, and now it's time for somebody else to do it. And you know, all the great people at ESPN I know, I hope they enjoy it as much as I do, because we've had some tremendous football games, you know, from both venues. You know, the comeback in Tuscaloosa when it was like, I think it was 24-0, and for Cam Newton to bring that team back in the middle, and that was a good football team for Alabama that year. They had lost a couple games, but that they were strong, and you know that loss kind of put them in a position and drive to win the next two national championships, because that game hurt so much. But watching Cam in that football game and the discipline of that team, I'll never forget that. And then, of course, the kick six, which also went, you know, against Alabama, and that game was special. But I think of the other games, you know, I think of Bryce Young when he was being sacked 8 times in that game, and he gets the ball back with 2 minutes to go. No one would have ever dreamt he was going to come back and tie that football game, you know, at that time. I think of the unfortunate play of some good players, you know, like Tank Bigsby. I know Tank really well, and he's a great kid. And he kind of stumbles out of bounds. He gets spun around, loses his part. The games meant so much to these players. And, you know, it's tough. I've been part of those games as a player. You know, I've thrown interceptions that cost my team games. It's tough to live with. So I love the human part of these games. And all of everybody involved, you know, but the game rarely disappoints, you know. Of the 16 I've done, I would say, you know, 14 to, you know, 12 to 14 were absolute classics, and some were unforgettable.
And so, Heath, now Gary Danielson can say 13 of the 15 was an instant classic, because this past season, Alabama won on a 4th and 31, the Gravedigger pass.
You know, Stephen, I'm not an Auburn fan. I'm not a Bama fan. I'm on the outside of that rivalry. And I've always enjoyed the Iron Bowl rivalry. A lot of people do. If you ask an Auburn fan what's the best moment, they'll tell you kick six. If you ask a Bama fan what's the best moment, they'll probably say Gravedigger now. You know, but when the outside fan, someone like Gary Danielson, or, you know, a reporter or a beat writer or something that doesn't follow either Auburn or Alabama, if you ask them what the best play is, I don't know if they're going to say kick six or Gravedigger. And I will say this, time will tell us here in the next couple of years, if Bama would have went on to win the national championship this year, I think Gravedigger easily wins that topic of what's the greatest play in Iron Bowl history. You know, but since Bama didn't win the national championship this year, is that going to be something where, like, both of them are super awesome, both are 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give the edge to Kick Six. I'm going to give the edge to Gravedigger, whatever it is.
Right.
But of course, every Bama fan's going to say Gravedigger. Every Auburn fan's going to say Kick Six.
Yeah.
But it's the fans that aren't there. They will determine which one was the best play ever in the series between those two in the rivalry.
On that note, before we go to break, we are going to finish up this segment hearing from Gary Danielson again, because a lot of SEC fans didn't like Gary Danielson about turn Gary off and all of that. Gary did talk about that in the final segment that we had him on, and here is what Gary Danielson had to say about the fans that listen to him play and call games on CBS.
There's only one thing about the whole Twitter I turned Gary off part of my job. It's not that I don't care about them. I do. I want to do the games really well, and nobody doesn't like to be liked. It's the fact that the outstanding job my team does. Okay, we've got 70 individuals. CBS is very proud of our presentation. It kind of gets whitewashed into Gary. That's the only part I don't like about it. But I don't want it to be distorted of how I've been treated over these years. If I've had 2 or 3 incidents in the 18 years by these fans, that would be overstating it. When I see people in airports, at restaurants, before the game, they may kid me, love our team, come on, Gary, be nice. I got a problem with that. But the distortion of what people think the SEC fan is like is not what I've experienced in my years in the SEC. They've been fun. They've been polite. They've been rabid. And that's what makes it. That's why I'm studying, even when I'm doing interviews, because I don't want to let my team down. And I hate the fact that as we leave this long association, it's been too much about me and not enough about the great work that our team has done.
Yes, sir. And Heath, once again, social media warriors and people not bold enough to say it to the people on their faces. You know?
I'm not going to give any value to keyboard cowboys.
Yes.
Gary gets on my nerves too, but Gary does know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And just to prove that you're wrong, if you say Gary doesn't know what he's talking about, how many people you know that played college football? How many do you know that were all conference in college football? How many do you know that played professional football?
Yeah.
How many do you know that are getting paid for their opinion to talk about football? Because that's who Gary Danielson is.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with everything he says. But Gary does know what he's doing.
So, Heath, on that note, we are up against another break, and when we come back, we are going to continue to look back at last season of the Stingray Show. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back.
Gary's a hater.
How would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama. Hey guys, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville offers personal loans of all sizes, competitive interest rates, secured and unsecured. The Bank of Moundville was established back in 1907. Call them today to get started. Their number is 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227. They are a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa. If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group right here in Tuscaloosa. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698 and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. Hey guys, have you heard the news? The Bank of Mountville offers personal loans of all sizes, competitive interest rates, secured and unsecured. The Bank of Mountville was established back in 1907. Call them today to get started. Their number is 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Mountville, 205-371-2227. They are a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our year in review will continue here shortly. And Heath, one of your all-time favorite interviews that we ever did is going to come from our next clip. And then I will play this, and then I want to get your thoughts on having him join us, okay?
All right.
We didn't, if you recall, Arkansas, we really didn't have a rival. When we made the transition, the rival at Arkansas was always been Texas in our minds, growing up because of Southwest Conference. Well, when you made the transition, we had to kind of manufacture one. So it was LSU.
Right.
And David Basil made the big boot trophy. He invented that and did that, came up with that, which was an awesome trophy. And so here's what I learned quickly, Heath. This is why this is a great question. I didn't understand rivalry until I got to Ole Miss. And here's why. Guys, we beat Mississippi State 9 out of 10 times at Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So we get to Ole Miss. We beat Ole Miss 52-0 or 52-3 or something the first year. I didn't think nothing about it. The second year, had a pretty good year, but we get beat by Mississippi State. I go to get horse feed. We're getting ready to go to Cotton Bowl. We're going to get ready to play Oklahoma State that second year. I go get horse feed at Pontotoc, Mississippi. And I can tell my guy who's usually friendly with me, hey, Coach Nutt, hey, hey, how's it going? Hey, getting the horse feed? Yep. I need some horse feed for this, my horse. That. Always great conversation, right?
Right.
That day, that second year, after getting beat by Mississippi State, he doesn't say much to me. I said, hey, you okay? Doesn't say much to me. Helps me load my sacks of feed in the truck. He says, hey, Coach, as I'm getting ready to leave, I'm thinking something must be wrong with the family or something. Somebody must be sick. As I'm getting ready to leave, he says, hey, Coach, yeah, make sure you beat Mississippi State next year. Whoa. Now, we're going to the Cotton Bowl. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't feel good about getting beat Mississippi State, but I feel pretty good. We won 9 games. I think we're getting, it's 2 years in a row. We're going to the Cotton Bowl. You make sure you beat Mississippi State next year. That's all I needed to hear, because that line is so – you can throw, the old saying, hey, you can get beat by every game, but you better win that last one. There's something to that now in the state of Mississippi. There's something to it. Arkansas didn't play Arkansas State, so I didn't understand it.
Right.
I didn't understand it until I got to Mississippi. I mean, the rival. I mean, I thought, well, we beat Mississippi State 9 out of 10 times at Arkansas. No big deal. Beat them the first year. That second year we got beat. Whoo! I heard it all year. My letters, my emails. That's all it wasn't about beating Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl. Coach,
right.
Let's beat Mississippi State now. Oh, right. Okay. Hey, we just beat Oklahoma State in the Coach, let's beat Mississippi State.
Right.
I get it.
Houston Dale Nutt. You got to love Coach Nutt. Stephen, the one thing I used to love about interviewing Coach Nutt back when I was a media member and a reporter straight out of college is he was so honest. He shot you straight. Coach Nutt, he starts getting excited. He starts talking a little bit faster and a little bit higher. And, he starts talking like that. But you could ask him something. You could ask him something about strawberry pie. And, let me tell you something. That strawberry pie, it's so good. He just gets faster and faster and higher and higher. It tickles me every time. But Coach Nutt he was a breath of fresh air when I was a media member because he would shoot you straight. He'd get excited talking about something. But, yeah, Coach Nutt, he knows about that Egg Bowl rivalry.
And not only did we have him on once, we had him on twice last year.
Yeah, I loved when I asked Coach Nutt this question. I thought you were going to play this clip. But, they played Texas one year. When he was at Arkansas, they played Texas. Yeah. He mentioned Texas in that segment just then. But Arkansas beat a super high-ranked Texas team. Mac Brown and the Longhorns were in the top 5. They might have been in the top 3. It was like the opening game of the season. It might have been the second weekend of the season. And Houston, Nutt, and Arkansas just put it on them and beat them. And at the end of the game, Nutt did the horns down, double-barreled horns down, one on each hand. And the Texas media came after him in that post game, and he had the best response. He goes, guys, am I the first person that's ever done that? I just started dying laughing when he mentioned that. So, Houston Dale Nutt, man, you got to love that guy.
All right, so we're going to transition now from Houston Nutt to Gabe McKenzie, who was a former Auburn football player. And this is a really interesting interaction. The first time that Gabe McKenzie met Tommy Tuberville at Auburn. Heath, get ready to laugh at this one because this is a weird interaction. The first time you meet your brand new head coach. What was that like when you first met Coach Tuberville?
Let me tell you about me going into his office.
Okay.
On a visit. Long story short, I was like, so, my goal is basically to be the best tight end in, my league or whatever. And those are my goals. And when I work out and do this and that, I came in his office, he was telling me, I got a left-hand quarterback that needs eye surgery. My first reaction is, you telling me you got a dude that needs surgery on both his eyes and he's the quarterback? That was my initial.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he must don't want me to come here or something. I don't know what it is.
Right. Man, did they get it? Was he joking?
Yeah. No, he was serious. But that was Brandon Cox. Brandon Cox was, to my sophomore year, all my years, basically. He left my sophomore year, but he's the best quarterback I played with. Like the quarterback that put the ball in my hands. Like,
right.
There you go. You're open, da-da-da. He's great at reading the defense and giving the ball and giving guys the ball. Yeah. You got some quarterbacks, I'm not saying any names, you could be wide open. If he's a running quarterback, he'll look at you and then he'll just start running. That's not really how, offenses work. It's like everybody got their role and this, that, and that. But like I said, other than that, he's a great coach. Right. Very great coach. He definitely, when you watch, you're the overseer of 100 guys. For anybody, that's hard because you also got your guys that don't come from the best situations or some that do.
All right.
If it's a phone call, like anything happens, like early in the morning, like our coaches have to be, like I said, it's a lot of responsibility being a coach. Right. You got to watch a lot of guys and make sure they're doing the right thing. And like I said, they're basically a reflection of you. These kids do anything, they're going to look at the coach like, what are you? These are guys you getting in here, so.
Oh, yeah. Heath, can you imagine meeting your head coach for the first time and him going, I got a quarterback that needs eye surgery?
Yeah, left-handed quarterback that needs eye surgery. Gabe McKenzie, he got that great mustache. He got that great big horseshoe mustache. He's kind of got that long, he doesn't have a circular face. He has a long face. And that horseshoe mustache just makes it look even better. But real quick about Brent Cox, there was a exhibition game here in Memphis, St. Louis Cardinals and the Toronto Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. And this is, of course, years ago. And it was right before the season started. As a matter of fact, it's the last spring training game before the season starts, opening day. And I had forgotten about Brandon Cox. And he was on the on-deck circle getting ready to hit. And I was like, why does that guy look familiar? Why does that guy look familiar? And so, I interviewed a lot of people before, like I said, during my TV media days. And I was like, man, he looks so familiar. And you didn't have Google on your cell phones back then. And I was like, I couldn't place him. And I saw a buddy from high school I played baseball with. And we're there at AutoZone Park, a beautiful minor league park in Memphis. And lo and behold, my high school buddy that came down, he said, did you interview that guy? And I looked at him and I was like, who is that? Because he looks familiar. And he's like, dude, he was quarterback at Auburn. And then, of course, it hit me.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, he gave up football to play baseball. I said, obviously that turned out well for him. Mm-hmm. He's playing with the Blue Jays now. But, yeah, I will say this. Why can't we move the SEC tournament to Memphis? That's a beautiful park. I know the answer to that question. There's no RV park, and it's in the middle of downtown Memphis, and there's no place to park an RV. And, Gabe McKenzie. Great mustache, great story about Cox. And, he was a great quarterback for Auburn and a phenomenal baseball player.
So, Heath, on that note, we are up against our final break. And when we come back, we are going to continue to dive into our year in review right here on the Stingray Show.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris coming in Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. We got a jam-packed show. The coach, Ellis Johnson, breaking down college football. D. Orlando Ledbetter with the Falcons Report. And Jeff Spiegel, sports anchor at ABC 3340. Plus your phone calls and more. That's the Thursday morning edition of the Gary Harris Show.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. Your life can change on a dime, and if you are relocating for your job up to the Rocket City of Huntsville, the fastest growing city in the state of Alabama, you need to contact Celeste Hagler of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She has brokers all over North Alabama to help you get settled with buying a new home in North Alabama. You can contact her at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is Celeste Hagler, 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to live where you love in the state of Alabama, even in the Rocket City of Huntsville. How would you guys like to try a caramel cookie butter hot chocolate? Hey, you guys ordered the Blitzen so much at Strange Brew Coffee House over the holidays until Strange Brew made the Blitzen a permanent addition to Strange Brew Originals. Hey, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, you probably need a pick-me-up or maybe even something to warm you up. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House on the Strip at the University of Alabama, 1101 University Boulevard, and get you something that will warm your heart and your soul right here on the Strip at the University of Alabama.
Apply.
Welcome back inside of our final segment right here on the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you guys. And Heath, I've got to be honest with you and honest with the fans out there. My favorite reoccurring guest that we have here on the Stingray Show, we're about to play two different clips from him this past season, and then we will discuss him. Here he is right here discussing his favorite non-football related movies.
Non-football sports movies.
Yes.
I'd probably say Hoosiers 1.
Okay.
Miracle 2.
Solid.
For Love of the Game 3. I think For Love of the Game is the most underrated baseball movie ever made, and here's why.
Okay.
It is so brilliantly chronicled by starting at the end of a career and having this old man that's barely got anything left on the mound and chronicling his whole life and career back to when it started.
Yeah.
While he is in the midst of pitching a no-hitter to end the career. Kevin Costner's fantastic in it. John C. Reilly's the catcher in it in a dramatic role, not a comedic role. But I just think it's woefully underrated.
All right, and before we talk about this is his personal opinion on what is wrong with college football right now.
But I'll tell you the one problem that I have with NIL, and I think we're going down this path, is this is the ultimate team sport, right?
Yeah.
And the more NIL we put into this, the more individualism we will get out of it. And the more individualism we have in terms of me, I, what can I make for me? What can I do for me? The less care we're going to have about the on-field product. It's human nature, guys. We're dealing with 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, many of which have come from maybe nothing. Next thing you know, they have all of this dumped on their lap, and now it's not about the team. It's about them. And then if you get 25 of those guys, you could have a real problem on your hands. And I think that's what Nick Saban worries about more so than anything else. It's the one element to collegiate athletics since he's come back from the Miami Dolphins that he has no control over.
Yes. And Heath, that is not a knock on Coach Saban. That is just the way that we are in college football right now. And Tom Luginbill summed it up perfectly right there.
Here's the crazy thing, Steven. These big-time recruits right now, the transfer portal guys, and even high school recruits as well. But some of these guys that have some talent, some big-time talent, 4 stars, 5 stars, when schools are asking them to come visit, say, hey, we want you to take an official visit. Well, how much are you going to pay me to take an official visit?
Yeah.
Schools are paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 just for the kid to come visit.
Yeah.
That's where we are in the world today in college athletics. So don't think that a kid is choosing your school anymore because they like the colors and the fight song and the mascot and this and that. They chose your school because you were the highest bidder majority of the time.
So, Heath, let's go on ahead and round out the Stingray Show the only way we know possible with the big leagues of guests that we had last year. And we're going to start with none other than comedian icon Bill Engvall. We had him on twice last year. This was the first time we had him on talking about the time that he got to meet George Strait.
It was, I'll never forget it. I was presenting an award. It was like at the ACMs or CMAs or whatever, the ABCs. I don't know I don't know why they have to have just have the country music awards. We need one show.
Right.
But I was presenting an award and I was backstage and one of the stagehands came up to me and said, hey man, George Strait wants to meet you. And I went, shut up. He goes, no, he's right around the curtain. He goes, he's coming this way. And I'm like, whatever, dude. George walks around the curtain, and there he is in his starched jeans and his shirt and his hat. And he goes,
right.
Hey, Bill, I just want to tell you I think you're really funny, man, and I hope maybe we can work together one day. Wow. I was so fanboy that all I could think was, oh, my God, you're George Strait. And then I did the dumbest thing in the world. I said, are you going to be in Amarillo by morning?
Wow.
I'm sure George walked away going, moron.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
that was the one that I really kind of went, oh man, you really blew that one.
Bill,
I still laughed out loud when you showed that clip.
Bill Engvall, you gonna be in Amarillo by morning? Oh.
Yeah, if my mic wasn't muted, you would have heard me laugh twice just then. Bill's funny. I mean, he was a comedian. He was on TV shows. There's only a handful of comedians in the world that can sell out, arenas and theaters across the place that are on the main marquee. He was one of them for a while.
Yeah.
And Bill's just funny, man. Just funny. I love those stories. That's what I love about our show, Stephen. We get those kind of stories, and they enjoy telling those kind of stories. So, yeah, great stuff.
And Heath, let me also say this. We've actually had a couple of people last year cut a couple promos for us, and here is one right here.
Hey guys, this is John Layfield here. At one time, the longest rating WWE champion in SmackDown television history. One half the APA, 100% wrestling god. And they're wrestling legends. There's Hall of Famers. There's world champions. There's even icons, but there's one and only one. Wrestling God. Proud to be on Tide 100.9 with Stephen and Heath, having a lot of fun with these guys, talking about what is important in life, and that is Texas beating Oklahoma. You see, when Oklahoma plays Oklahoma State, I hope they both lose. We need a wall between Texas and Oklahoma to keep the Okies out of the promised land. But if they make it through customs and come down to the promised land, they're going to go back a long trip. It's going to be sad. It's going to be so sad going back to Oklahoma to your little bingo parlors and all your little places. And God bless Texas.
And unfortunately for JBL, Texas lost the Red River rivalry right after he said that.
Yeah, a lot of big nights in the bingo parlors back in Oklahoma. I about lost it when he said bingo parlors.
Yes.
You got to go back to your bingo parlors in Oklahoma.
Right.
That's great stuff.
All right. And Heath, we absolutely love talking about the icon who we lost a year ago in Mike Leach on the show. Here is one of the better stories about Mike Leach that we got last year to finish on the Stingray Show.
We were at the Oregon-Auburn National Championship game in Phoenix.
Okay.
Newton year. And me, Bruce Feldman, and a couple other guys went out to dinner with Leach and Noel Mazzoni and a couple other guys. And we ended up in a bar and stay too long. And Mike's drinking like $40 scotches. And I pay for it. I don't pay for it. ESPN pays for it. And
Mickey Mouse pays for it.
The next morning, I get a call from ESPN's legal counsel saying that I've been named as a witness in Mike Leach's lawsuit against ESPN. And I saw him in the Starbucks a little while later. I said, Mike, you could have at least told me you put me in your lawsuit. He goes, well, if I had, you wouldn't have paid for the bar tab.
Wow.
That's the kind of guy he was.
Oh, that's great. That's how did you reply?
I just looked at him and laughed. He was you couldn't get angry with the guy.
Right.
No, you can't. That's a great story, Mark.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that, of course, was Mark Schleybaugh talking there about the late, great Mike Leach.
Oh, I just want to see what the conversations were after $40 scotch drinks that, Mickey Mouse / ESPN is paying for.
Yeah.
Where did the conversation go? And how many scotch drinks did it take for Mike Leach to start telling, he's always telling crazy stories, but when did it get way out there?
So Heath, on that note, we hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed this episode of the year in review of the Stingray Show. When we come back tomorrow, we are through reminiscing about last year. We are going to be joined by none other than Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 to talk all things college basketball and to preview the national championship game. And Heath, let's go on ahead and do it together, my friend. We are out. We will see you guys tomorrow night right back here at 6 o'clock on Tide 100.9 with our guest, Chris Lee from Southeastern 14. And with that, have a wonderful night, Tuscaloosa.